The second part of today's lecture, I want to speak about a mele that I wrote maybe around 20 years ago. The name of that mele is HoʻOmau Kaha o ka Hawaiʻi. To perpetuate the breath, to perpetuate everything that we breathe, to perpetuate the tradition. If there's no breath, there's no tradition. And I coined that HoʻOmau Kaha o ka Hawaiʻi because of HawaiʻI and HALOA. HoʻOmau Kaha, to perpetuate HawaiʻI, to perpetuate HALOA, and the genealogies of our kupuna, the genealogies of our traditions. HoʻOmau Kaha o ka Hawaiʻi. So at the beginning of the recording, I give an introduction and I say, E kala hui Hawaiʻi, e holomua, e waiho I ka lei o ka huahala, a e apo I ka lei o ka lehua. O ki kumulipo I ko kākou ola, e hoʻomau. O ka olelo ko kākou mana, e hoʻomau. O ka pono o na ʻAUMAKUA ko kākou hano, e hoʻomau. E hoʻomau kaha o ka Hawaiʻi, e hoʻomau kaha o ka Hawaiʻi. So I'm talking to the Lahui, to the nation of Hawaii. This is 20 years ago. And I'm sharing my insight, the things that I've learned from my teachers, the things that in my heart, in my manava, the things in my ake, in my liver, in my na'au, in my enlightenment at that time, 20 years ago, that I felt were very, very important. And it says, e holomua, go forward. And I'm going to talk about the three things that we, without government or anything else, that we have the authority of. Three things. So it says, e waiho I ka lei o ka huahala. To lay down this lei of challah fruit. Challah has a right and a left, a positive and a negative. Yeah. Challah, when given at the appropriate time, symbolizes a natural passing. When given at an appropriate time, that passing can be very negative. So I'm saying, take that lei of challah, wrongdoing, and put it down. Lay it down. Lay it down. This encirclement that continually tends to bind us, lay it down. Lay it down. Then I say, e apo I ka lei o ka lehua. Now embrace the lei of lehua blossoms, bright, brilliant. Hua, but to fruit. We have to start to fruit anew. Like the lehua, that once the lava cools and is all black, and suddenly life appears from this darkness, from this blackness, from all the wrongs that were done, now comes the liko. We have to be that liko. No, we should not forget what happened in the past. But yes, we have to stop dwelling on the past. Now, we need to move forward and bloom again. Bloom again. Fruit once more. This is what we have to do. So it says, o ke kumulipo I ko kākou ola e hoʻomau. The kumulipo is the genealogy of creation. It is about our lives. It begins with every tiny life form in the ocean. I loko o ke kai moana nui a me ka aina. I ulu a kea mai ke kahakai a I ka pali. That everything descended from this kumulipo, this genealogy chant that takes life, everything from the ocean, and way up into the expanse of our aina all the way to the cliffs. We are a part of that kumulipo. We come from Papa, Hanamoku, and Vakea. We come through Ho'ohoku Kalani and Haloa ke Kalo and Haloa ke Kanaka. This is great mana. This is great authority. This makes us unique. Unique to our tradition, unique to our kupuna, unique to our ʻOHAMAKUA, unique to our akua. We are unique. And if we don't know that by now, because we are held back by this encirclement of all the wrongs, and we're not letting ourselves to emerge, then how are we going to holomua? So everything begins in the mele with knowing and understanding where you come from. Again, we talked about that, right? Aia no ia oi ka pauku I vaina, aia ka po'o, aia ka hi'u. So, you come from this amazing tradition. You come from this amazing history. You come from this amazing genealogy. You are here. What you gonna do? Because what happened in the past happened, but guess what? I'm still a part of this great kumulipo. And everyone is a part of that great kumulipo. The kumulipo deserves our honor and respect. And we are the exponents of that. And if we cannot see that in our relationship one to the other, kekahi I kekahi, then the fault is not what everybody else did. The fault is us. We are the fault. We got to let go of that mentality, and we got to focus on building, going forward. Because in Ho'oponopono, some people never admit to the wrongs that they did. So, you're going to stop your whole life and wait for them apologize for what they did? Who stay on the ground groveling and apologizing to the First Nations for all the wrongs that were done in America and in Hawaii? Who? So we're going to wait for that to happen? No. We have to move. We have to move within our own tradition, within our own spiritualism, within our own, because we are unique. And while we try to be everybody else in the world, because we think that's appropriate and proper, if we think that, then ask yourself this: why everybody trying to be us? Because we have something unique. We have something unique. And this is what the song is saying 20 years ago. Maybe nobody would listen. Nobody was listening to what I had to say. Maybe even today nobody gonna listen. Because everybody get the answer. Okay, good. But who has the answer? Ko ke akua haʻia mio, ko lihau ula haʻi kupua. You see? God going to choose that message. Now, because of Pono, you get to choose if you're going to listen or not. That becomes your kuleana. Your mea koʻikoʻi a kau ia ika poʻohiwi. That's going to be your responsibility, yeah, that has been placed on your shoulder. You're going to choose the right or you're going to choose the left. You're going to choose the white, you're going to choose the black. You're going to choose the up, you're going to choose the down. What is that called? A parody? The parody of choice and mankind? Yeah. Yeah. And that's what the Pono is also. We cannot forget that part of this great tradition known as Pono. Okay, so that's the Kumulipo. The next thing I talk about is Ika Olelo I Kokako Mana e HoʻOmau. In the language is our authority. Again, the Kumulipo was an authority. Now we get to the language. I just gave that talk about the language, about how we all need to learn the language because there is power in the language. But remember, aya no ika olelo keola, there is blessings and life and positiveness. Aya no ika olelo kamake, there is destruction and death. Here we go, another parody. And another reason why we need to find good teachers so we can holomua. We're going to be stuck in all of that behind there. Aya no ika olelo ke ola, aya no ika olelo kamake. O ka olelo kokako mana. The language is our authority. When we learn the language, speak the language, we are strengthened in our connection to our kupuna, our ʻAUMAKUA, our akua, and our kumulipo. That is the message I'm trying to get across with this mele. And you know, I've been, noted for writing simple mele. None of these mele are simple. These are messages that were handed down to me from my teachers and my kupuna, messages that I chose to share with you through this tradition of hakumele and the continuity ka hoʻomau ana. So ka mea mua ke kumulipo ko kako mana. Ka mea e lua ka olelo ko kako mana. A pehea ka hana ana a kako o ia hoʻi ka hoʻomau ana me ki ia mau kumuhana. So what are we going to do? Are we going to follow our traditions or are we going to keep ourselves in that binding of what happened way back there? It happened already. We need to push forward in so many ways. Push forward. The first thing we have to acknowledge, we're all family. We all came from the same genealogy, and together we can move forward, supporting one another. We are the ʻOHANA, the family of HALOA. Secondly, our ʻOlelo. Ikapule, ikekahea, in everything we do. Because that strengthens not only our ties to our kumulipo and our ancestors, but it shall strengthen our ties to one another. When we can ʻōlelo, ka ʻōlelo o ke ia ʻaina, ka ʻōlelo o ke kumulipo, ka ʻōlelo o ke akua, na ʻAUMAKUA, na kupuna, ka ʻōlelo o ka hakau, ka lāhui o HawaiʻI, na iwi hānau o ka ʻaina, na moʻopuna o HALOA, e holomua me ka hoʻomau ana o ka ʻōlelo HawaiʻI. These are the things that are so very, very important. And this is where, that mana, that authority comes in. Okay, so we talked about the kumulipo, and now we talk about the ʻōlelo. And you know, our tutu always said, manakaleo. You know, manakaleo. You know, when you kamea about something, and then that thing huli and come back, because no matter what you say, from your waha, it's amazing. It's always going to come back. It's going to always come back. Good or bad, going to come back. Are you ready to accept and recognize that the source of those words were your mouth? That's where manakaleo comes in. You know, people are so casually, oh, manakaleo. Manakaleo is very, very powerful, and be careful when you say manakaleo, because that saying of manakaleo might turn back and manayoleo. And then what? You see? We cannot take things lightly because we come from this uniqueness. And where everything is an integral part of this sacredness. Everything. And that's why I say we cannot qualify and we cannot quantify. That we cannot do anymore. That's not my ka'i. If it's all sacred, it's all sacred. Let's stand behind the same thing. But do not come in and qualify what this is and this is not. No, that's not how we move forward. We move forward in unison. Ho'okahi kamana o ho'okahi pu'uvai. One thought, one heart as we move together. That's what the words are trying to tell people, trying to teach people. E ho'olono kākou, e ho'okuli, peala. We're going to listen or we're going to play deaf. Huh? E ho'olono ana kākou, e ho'okuli ana kākou, peala. Finally, we get to the ʻAUMAKUA. And this one is one of the most unique things. The ʻAUMAKUA, yeah, are our ancestors. So, I have great-great-great-grandparents, great-great-great-great-grandparents, great-great-great-great-great-grandparents, all the way back to the time of Papa and Vakea, who are now a part of my family that are ʻAUMAKUA. Now, there are kupuna still, but there are ʻAUMAKUA. Now, the ones that we know as the animal affinities, the shark, the owl, the dog, the mo'o, the kumupa'a, this mysterious genealogy that comes from so way back, yeah, that connect us to the creation, and these things were a part of the creation, yeah, that we are connected to, yeah. They have kuleana to us. They in that world, in that au, in that light, have kuleana to us. And that kuleana is to keep us pono. And if it is punishment, they will punish us as they keep us pono. That is their kuleana, the pono. So remember when I talked about sickness and spiritual sickness that came when you offended your ʻAUMAKUA by word, deed, or action? And then the ʻAUMAKUA brought ma'i upon their own descendants. So, in order to avoid that kind of negativity, that we live our lives in pono, reflecting always to the ʻAUMAKUA, that's big kuleana. And then, is everybody going to follow that? But it's where our mana is. It's where our authority is, in that relationship with our ʻAUMAKUA. And what do we get? What benefits? Yeah. What kind of mea kako onona ʻAUMAKUA? Enlightenment. They give enlightenment. They send messages through dreams, through omens, through portents, through visions. They will, as long as your relationship with them is strong. As long as pilipa'ano ka pilina me na ʻAUMAKUA, mauno, ka hoʻailona, ka ulaleo, a me ka akaku. Mauno ka hana ana ʻAUMAKUA no na mo'opuna. A ka mea nui, ka pilipa'a, ka pilipono. So as long as that relationship with the ʻAUMAKUA based on truth, ka mea ʻoiaʻi'o, then they will provide you with visions, portents, spirit voice, everything that you need because they will communicate to you. And in a sense, we've lost all of that because do we have that communication? So, as the pono goes, the keiki, the opio, the makua, the kupuna, the ʻAUMAKUA, the akua. They then and therefore are the spirit messengers to the akua. So they, how do we say, they act on our behalf to the akua. So we send our messages to the ʻAUMAKUA because they're related to us by blood. They're very close to us. So we pray, we speak, we ask, we mihi, we do everything, and they in turn, on our behalf, interact with the akua. It's a process, yeah. The pono is a process. So if we don't have the strength of that relationship with our ʻAUMAKUA, how are we going to have the strength or the authority or the mana? We need that. And how do we build that? How's about treat your own living kupuna good? How's about caring for and malama, the living kupuna, the living members of this great family of the Lahui of Hawaiʻi? Why don't we start there? Not just by mouth, by actually doing it. And not just the kupuna you like. How's about every kupuna? Because then you're showing all the ʻAUMAKUA your commitment to the pono of that tradition. Wahi ina mono no ka noʻonoʻo ana, food for thought. Food for thought. Because ʻAUMAKUA have great kuleana. Remember when I said in hoʻoponopono? So hoʻoponopono is for spirit sickness. Spirit sickness, yeah? Ma'i uhane, I loko o ka ohana within the family. I said that the person that conducts the ho'oponopono is the oldest person because they're the closest to the ʻAUMAKUA. The oldest person who has ike, wisdom, that understands ike maupopo, what they need to do to ho'ola I kelama'i, to heal that illness. You see how the tradition is, and you see how even today we're not really following our tradition. Because we rely on the iPad, the iMac, the iPhone, and the I to resolve issues that should be really resolved by kupuna. No, if we're following our pono, there is a leadership and a flow that trickles from akua down to the keiki, yeah? And we can talk all we like about the generations, but if the generation's not learning from the kupuna, then what they're learning and who they're learning from. Just wahi ina mono no ka noʻonoʻo ana. Wahi ina mono no ka noʻonoʻo ana. Vehe ana a ka manaʻo. E pili ana no ke ia mau mea. E kolu mau mea nui e pili ana no na Hawaiʻi. Ai hea ka mana o na Hawaiʻi, ai hea ka mana I loko o ke kumulipo. Ai hea ka mana o ka Hawaiʻi, ai no ka mana I loko o ka olelo. Ai hea ka mana o na Hawaiʻi, ai no me na ʻAUMAKUA. A maupopopo no kākou a pehea la. I loko o ka umanao a. Maupopo pa ka hapa liʻiliʻi, a pehea ka hapa nui a. Huli ia mea hāʻole. Everybody became hāʻole in their thinking and their attitude. This is the old way. Maybe you don't like the old way, a maupopo ia o. But the old way came before all of us. The old way will guide us to where we are today. We're going imua, well, think how we're going to do it and think what we're doing wrong today.